There's something that I want to really correct, because I on TikTok I heard them saying that I heard people that were saying that you said the Esan people came from River Nile. How can the Esan people come from River Nile? But I want to clarify that River Nile is not River Niger and River Benue, which is what we have in Nigeria, central Nigeria, around Kogi and Lokoja within that environment. So River Nile is in Northeast Africa. So it is not River Nile, it is in central Nigeria. The right word can be central Nigeria or conference area, which is River Niger and River Benue. Yeah. So of course everybody knows the Nok civilization. There's nobody that doesn't know Nok civilization. It's the most ancient civilization in Nigeria, archaeologically. And that is an established fact. For academicians, they already, everybody knows that they are aware of it. So within those environments, our people once dwell in that environment. That's central Nigeria, close to the Nok civilization. Within that environment, probably something happened. Of course, according to what is recorded in our history, this is not my words. This is what they stated in our history. Tainahulu stated in his history. And even Benin history, Professor Omoroge, a book titled Great Benin, it was published in 1997. The age of his laws, he dictated everything in his history book. So within that environment, the period that I'm talking about right now, around that came 250 to 300 BC. Around 5,000 to 10,000 years ago.
Our leg.
Sorry. I'm mentioning around like 5,000 to 10,000 years ago. Within that conference area, there was a disaster that happened. They weren't living in the river, but somehow you are going to platoon within that environment. Let me say from Lokoja to platoon within those environments. So that's where they were living. So you know,
confluence area.
Exactly. Yeah. Even up to now, if you can realize once in a while, there's always flood. You understand? And probably the River Niger and the River Benue overflowed, and when the river rises and communities in that environment they are overflooded. Even up to date, it happens once in a while or even every year. So similar something like that happened. So within those environments where they were living, they were unsettled by water, the rise of the river. So they were looking for a more inhabitable place to live. So they started moving southward down to Okene within those environments. They were looking for a top hill. They settled in the top hill. And if you look at that environment, you know that they have a lot of stones. You understand? They have hills, a lot of stones within those environments. So those ethnic nationality that were displaced with the natural disaster, it is not only we. People are talking about Idu. This is where the Idu come in. They are talking about. There was a man that led the migration of people within that were displaced in the environment to the top hill settlement. His name was called Idu, which is the ancestors, one of our ancestors that we are talking about. So he made up a settlement in the hilltop. It's a hilltop settlement where the stones are within Lokoja and Okene, within those environments. So he made up a settlement there. Within that environment, there were different ethnic groups that joined them in that settlement. Iran, if you know about Iran, some people, Igala mature Iran, and we call the Igala people Iran. Igala, the ancient Igala, not the entirety of Igala that are presently now in Kogi State, but a specific clan that are in Igala. They call them Igala Mela. So those ones, they were part of the migration. Ulukumin, which is the Yoruba, at the time I'm telling you now, Ile-Ife in Osun State was never founded. So they were part of the people that went into the settlement, which is the top hill settlement. The Ulukumins, they represent the Yorubas. And there were Igbos. The Igbos were also among the earliest Igbos, they were also among them. The Ingeni people, where Burna Boy for come. Presently, those guys they settled in River State. They almost group as Jaw ethnic nationalities. Those guys were also there. The Uruanha people, which is the Ikwere they are talking about, they were also there. There are some people that are in Bayelsa State and APA, Etisa, those Welsh, those ethnic nationalities, those guys were also there. Of course, the Uzobo, Isobo, as in Urobo, or whichever word you use for them, those guys were also there. The Isoko were also there. And the earliest people that settled in Owan and Isako, all those guys, they were also there. And other ethnic nationalities like that, they were all there. So the leader of the group, if you look at the Igbo, the earliest Igbo, they always have that word, do that resonate with them. So you wonder, how did they get that word from? Yeah. This is where they got this word from. The leader of the group, the people that were in that settlement was Igbo. And that guy is the person they are referring to be our ancestors. And he do have children, Ephraimah and Aka, which is the first son. Of course, he also have daughters as well. He have relations as well, a lot of relations. They were all living in that top settlement. Just like that. But as time goes on, Idu was late. I want to correct this. In the Benin history, not in Benin history, some few people that are propagating falsehood online currently, they say Idu was born in Benin and he died in Benin. That is a lie. There was never anything. There is no record of such history. Tell them to give you the record. There is no history like that. Idu never live in Benin or live in Esan. He never even reached Esan. It was his descendants that later moved out of the hilltop settlement and started looking for a more inhabitable place to live. They were moving into the swampy rainforest, moving down to the south. These are the people that spread and started building settlement. Idu never reached Benin or even Esan. This is not my word. This is what Professor Morogie in Great Benin in 1997, that is what he recorded in Benin history. And this is what Esan people recorded in their history in Peter Naho. The book was published here in 2004. This is what they wrote in their history. So as time goes on, Idu was late. So the hilltop settlement, he was the leader of the hilltop settlement. So another ethnic group took over the affairs of the settlement, as in the people, different ethnic groups that were there, which is the Olukomis I'm talking about right now. The Yoruba of today, they are talking about the earliest Yoruba of today. These are the people that later.
That part was also called Uhe.
That place was called Uhe. Uhe means safe place, as is safe and broken. Yeah. You know, they left a very disastrous environment, so they were looking for a more secure and safe place. That place, we call it Uhe. It is our own language, so it's a safe place. They settled in the hilltop settlement. So as time goes on, as he do die, his descendant Aka, Ephraimah, and he also have daughters and other people, ethnic nationality. All of them started migrating down to the south. So as they left, the descendant of Idu, the Yorubas, which is the Olukumi, they took over the affairs of that settlement. You understand? They took over the affairs of that settlement. But later on, those guys, they later migrated into the south, migrated into a different environment, and they went and founded East, the Ile-Ife they are talking about. The time I'm talking about around again 5,000 to 10,000 years ago. So these are how people started moving. Some people, they first moved to the Akoko Edo. Some ethnic groups start settlement in Akoko Edo. Some of them, a few people started in Isako. So they started moving to the south, moving towards the south. So when they found a platoon territory, Esan is a platoon territory. So some of them settled down there, especially the earliest Elu people, which is the Iwo of today, and the Ago, Iroa people, and all this stuff. So the first son of Idu, which is Aka, settled in Iroa. I repeat again, the first son of Idu, which is Aka, settled in Iroa. probably the oldest community in that place, which is called Awu. This is how all of them settled. The Ekboma, some of them also settled in Ekboma. Some of them also settled in different places like that. Igboha, that's how they spread across different communities in Ekboma that later evolved to be kingdoms. So they were just community. We do not have kings that period. What we had was the first and the oldest man in the community. Yeah, Ijon Wele became the leader of the community. So they were just a nuclear small settlement like that. So they were growing gradually like that until they became kingdoms. So this is what happened. As they were living there, of course, people, human needs are always unsatiated. So they were looking for, some of them were looking for a more
exploring.
Inhabitable place to live. Because of the disadvantage in Esan land, it's a plateau territory. We are about 100 or something above the sea level. So before you can get a river, almost there is no river except you go to the River Niger, Uzigono side, or a little stream that is in Ugboha. So some people were looking for a more inhabitable place to live. So they started moving into the south again. You understand? Which is the two children that are the younger brother of Akka that I told you, Efa and Emir, and others, Ubo and all that, ethnic nationality, maybe Urunha and Ngeni, Epie, all of them, they were all moving south. And the Anyoma, less than my people, they were all moving south. So when they got to Edo South, which is the place they call Bini today, of course, you know how that place live. They have Itoba River and all those stuff, all those environments. So they found that place more pleasing to settle. That is how they settled there. They settled there, just as we had it in Esan, in a small nuclear settlement. They were having a nuclear settlement, just small like that. Different communities were rising up. You have Uhonwe, a place called Uhonwe. I can pronounce it very well. Some of them settled in who were there, just like that. That's how they were moving. Udo, some of them moved to Udo, just like that. That's how they were spreading, just like that. Korean, just like that. So that's how nuclear settlement were happening. So as the Esan were evolving, growing, this is how they were also evolving. They have the same system that we have. We have where the oldest man in the community became the Willie. This is how we were having it. So with time, with civilization over there in Benin, they started having the first Ijon Willie that became king, which is Ujisu, who took the title of Ujisu. The same way with Esan. This is how the Esan also were also evolving. Those small nuclear settlements, they became kingdoms later. So I will not go beyond that. Of course, we were having Oj, Ujiso, which is Oj. They also have Oj, which is the right name for king in Benin there. While in our own side, we were having Oj as well, which is the right name for king. But within that period, there is never any time there is a break in communication or interaction between the Esans and the Benin. We're always interacting, you understand? So the people they call Benin today, or the people that later returned to Esan land in 14th century, this is after thousands of years. Those people are trying to base Esan history to people who came 14th century later on. These people, they are probably, let me say, they are the mostly descendants of those two brothers, Akka and Efa and Emir, that settled in Benin, and spread settlement, that moved from Esan to settle in Benin. So we started having a John Willie, we were having king, first with Jesus and all those stuff. The same thing with Esan. Esan, we're also having king. After the Oba, how they came into picture later. Of course, let's say the Oba came into Igodomingo in 13th century, archaeologically. If you can listen, that there's one article I sent to you. There's a reason why I sent that article to you, because they did archaeology discovery in Benin, where the Oba of Benin settled, where they first built their palace, Isuselu. So excavation was done there. So they dated it to 13th century. You see it in that article. That's the reason why I sent you that article. So if you look at the 13th century plus, as in date back to where our people started settling, the distance between 13th century when the Oba Benin came from Ife and where our people in Esan land and the earliest people in Benin were settled is more than 3,000 years. So how can somebody who came 14th century, people that have been existing 3,000 years before, people in Esan land or the indigenous people in Benin, how can the person be the progenitor of those people? Or how can those people descend from such person? This is why I was talking to Samuel just now, that when I hear a Benin preaching history of Esan, things they don't know, and the people they probably who are teaching this history, they came into our land in 13th century from Ile-Ife, and they do not know how our land was founded or set up. How can somebody who came into our land be teaching the people they met in their land their own history? And when we are telling them this is how our land was set up, they will say we are lying, we are lying. You were never part of the history. You were never part of a history you are not part of. You came into our land. It's just like the Fulanis came to meet the Hausa people in their land, as an example. And they are telling the Hausa people, this is how Hausa people history is. No. It is hatred. Yeah, that's why I was telling this guy, try to counsel him that what they are doing is hate. You understand? So I will not go beyond that. Maybe another day we'll discuss about that. But the foundation of Esan people, the foundation of Esan people is what I just spelled out to you. So the Esan people, the original people who founded Esan, although there are people in Esan in some history, and in Okoje history, in his book, there are people he interviewed that said in Esan they did not migrate from anywhere. They have been there. Of course, we also take those people story into account as well.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you. Now,